Hi all, welcome back to the channel. So today we want to look at number 13 in our series here. And this is related to agnostic script execution. So let's sort of say, in the previous video, what we were actually looking at was Langchain AI agents and how they could basically, run pieces of code and then kind of allow you to kind of analyze like a CSV file or a PDF file using OpenAI. So what I want to kind of do today is I want to kind of take a little bit, of a step forward that basically sort of says, you can actually have the same type of setup that you actually had to read your CSV or PDF file, but in this case, you're basically going to execute a Python or Node.js file. Now, the Langchain agents themselves, they're available to do various tasks. So what they're basically doing is they're executing something as an agent for you. So they're working on your behalf to execute something. So it just kind of means that it can actually kind of cut down your time um, on various tasks. But as a quick kind of test, what I kind of did here was I just kind of, created this quick diagram here to kind of show what I actually have today. So first of all, we have our Streamlit as we kind of always have. And the first type of application was where I allowed it to actually upload a Python file, and I used a Langchain agent with OpenAI to actually execute that script. And then on the second one, I basically had an agnostic version where I could basically upload Python or a Node.js script up to the application and execute it again using the same AI agent. So this one here is just an advancement on this one here. But what I kind of wanted to kind of show you before I actually run the actual application itself is that if I kind of go down here and I kind of look at the application itself. So the application itself, it's a Python application. It's quite kind of simple. All we're simply doing is, importing our libraries as always, and making sure that, we load our environment file for our OpenAI key. Then we kind of have, a few kind of functions here like suppress output, sanitize output. You know, OpenAI will kind of return a few messages back, and let's sort of say you don't actually want those kind of messages to display at your final output. Um, you can actually just kind of, use like a sanitize output and remove those kind of types of lines. But what's kind of interesting here is, you basically have like a tool here. So you have like a Python tool here. And if you kind of go through the code, it doesn't do, an an awful lot. And it's the same with the kind of the execute Node.js. So all they're kind of doing is they're kind of working through, you know, the actual file to kind of process and take in the file. So that's really what you're kind of doing. So if you were to kind of run this alone, it would basically kind of, read in your file really into a buffer. And it's the same as this one. This is just reading your file or your script into a buffer here as well. And then it's just this one here is a little bit more kind of advanced with Node.js, because there's a few kind of small little things I noticed that the Python um, tool was, removing the message quite easily to sanitize the output. So, you don't want to kind of any extra output coming from your file here. But the Node.js one was kind of having a bit more of a kind of problem to actually kind of, sanitize that output, whatever. And there's a few kind of try exceptions here for kind of timeouts and things. But what you're kind of doing here is you actually really kind of running your agent here. So this is the method or function that you really kind of need. So this is the one that you can kind of play around with, and this is the one that kind of connects over to chat OpenAI, and you can sort of see, the kind of model I'm using and the temperature, and then it just kind of loads in the actual kind of tool. So whether it's Python or Node.js, it kind of just runs the executor function that you require here. So, it's not doing overly complex, but what it's proven is that, you can actually sort of see, it actually kind of running and in function. And then I just kind of have, the actual kind of normal kind of Streamlit application, kind of just nicely output. Like, for example, I'm outputting the versions. I like to kind of do this. It kind of just helps me understand, for my own learning purposes. Like, for example, with the app info, what versions I'm actually kind of using in this application, just in case my kind of version updates or changes. Um, and then you have your kind of standard kind of file, upload your kind of file, and then you actually have like a run agent, and then you'll actually sort of see the actual output of the application. So let's kind of just switch over to the application. The file itself is, this agnostics Python file is not big, but what I've kind of got here is I've got two kind of files here, two sample files here. So hello Langchain agent JS and py. And if you look at the JS, all it's actually kind of doing is it's actually just kind of outputting your contents of your JS file, and here it's kind of doing the same. So if I kind of I was just kind of playing around with the actual suppressing of the messages. So imagine if basically you can sort of see here that if you just want to kind of output the current date and time, the same files, you can current date and time, it's cool. But what I was kind of doing was I was actually just sort of seeing from the actual Streamlit, could I actually remove and suppress this? Imagine this was actual like a line that you actually didn't want to show in your final output, but it's part of the script. Um, so you can actually kind of suppress those messages, and that's what I was kind of showing earlier on, that I was kind of playing around with that kind of suppression of messages to sort of say, you may not want to kind of output every single file for security reasons. You don't know what's in this file right now. So if you kind of upload a file, you pretend that you don't actually kind of understand what's really kind of in this file. So it kind of makes just a bit of kind of common sense that you may not want to actually kind of upload every single or output every single file line to the user for security reasons. So I was just kind of playing around with the actual kind of suppressing messages there. So you could actually do it without it, so that basically the script just runs and whatever you basically have here in your files, it just outputs. But just I was kind of just playing around with how Streamlit works with the actual suppression of and sanitizing of files. But let's kind of look at the application here kind of quickly. So I'm going to kind of just clear this here. And as you can sort of see, it's quite as simple. I've just kind of uploaded a kind of a dummy header here. So imagine if this was your kind of company header here, and it's agnostic script runner. So what I can do here is I can upload a Python or Node.js file is what we've kind of done. And here's your your app info. So I kind of know what Langchain core and the experimental I'm using. So this run agent button is not initialized until I actually upload a file here. So if I kind of go in here and I pick the first file here, so this is the JS file, and I like this, that the Streamlit will also kind of show me what the actual script content actually is, right? So I can kind of see, okay, so I actually do have a kind of, imagine this was a kind of bit of a dangerous line to show to kind of end users, but let's sort of say we can actually kind of now run our agent here. And as you can sort of see that the agent's output run. So, this is my local date and time. Um, and you can actually sort of see it here, but so it execute this line, and it did actually execute this line. It's just that you don't actually see it because it's actually been suppressed in this version. So, um, you may want to kind of do that, but the long story short is that, you're basically using this agnostics file to run the JavaScript or the Python file that you really want to run. So again, this is the kind of same type, except just in a Python file here, and then you can kind of run agent, and you can sort of see here that the agent's output um um was provided here. So you could kind of extend this kind of script out to sort of show exactly what the actual kind of agent, the Langchain agent, was kind of thinking when it kind of um process this kind of file. I've kind of done that before, but this is just a kind of simple version, which kind of helps just learn about Langchain AI agents and how we can kind of get them to actually kind of run our script files. So thank you.